Hello there, my little mathematicians. Today I'm going to help you get started on your converting between measurements homework. I'm going to start by doing 4, 6, and 12 with you. Remember, please show your work. No work equals no credit, even for the ones that we do together. You're welcome to show your work on here, but as you can see, it's going to get a little cramped. So if you want to show it on a separate sheet of paper, that would be wise too. You can always pause the video and try it yourself first, and then unpause it and come back to check. So let's go ahead and take a look. The first one, number 4, we're going to do together. Always start with what you're given. 142 hours. Okay, now I want to change hours to eventually become days. So how would I get there? Well, I do actually know how many hours are in a day, right? So I want to put the units that are alike diagonally across from each other so that they'll cross cancel. Okay, and the reason we do this is think of a problem like this. Okay, if I were to multiply this fraction, the 7s are diagonally across from each other and they cross cancel and become just 1. So it's like they disappeared, right? Because 1 times anything is just that number itself. Which brings me to my next point. I know that I can also cross cancel the 4 and the 8, but I'm not going to because I want to demonstrate something. If two numbers are across from each other, like 1 and 8 is across from each other, they're both on top, those get multiplied. So you would go 1 times 8, which is 8. And then on the bottom, 4 times 1 is 4, right? Those are across from each other, so they got multiplied. And then anything, if you have it top over bottom, that means top divided by bottom. So if one thing's on the top and one thing's on the bottom, you do the top divided by the bottom. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. I'm going to use that same logic when I multiply fractions when I'm doing these problems right here. Okay, so I want the unit of hours to eventually cancel out just like the 7s did, so that then I'll be left with the unit that I'm looking for of days. Okay, and then fill in, what do you know? I'm going to use the conversion rate that 1 day is equal to 24 hours. And the reason I can do this is essentially I'm just multiplying by 1, because isn't 24 hours the same thing as 1 day? Yes, it is. So essentially you could say 1 day over 1 day, and 1 day over 1 day is just 1, or 24 hours over 24 hours, because 24 hours is 1 day, is still just 1. So essentially I'm multiplying 142 hours by just 1, and that allows this to stay the same, okay? So that's how this is going to work. We're going to put the units that are alike diagonally across from each other so they cancel. And then if you can go straight from here to here, great. I know how to go from hours to days, 24 hours in 1 day. The things that are across from each other get multiplied. So 142 times 1 is 142. Technically, there's a 1 there. 1 times 24 is 24. So now you have the top divided by the bottom. So I'm going to plug this into my calculator. Okay, and when I type that in, I get 5.916, and it just keeps repeating. Notice that it said round to the nearest hundredth if possible. So if you have a number that keeps going on and on and on, the hundredth is 10th hundredths, 2 places after the decimal. So I look at the number right behind the hundredths place, and if this number is 5 or above, this number is going to go up by 1. If this number is 4 or below, then this number will stay whatever it is. Since this is 6, it tells this 1 to bump up to a 2. And my hours canceled. I'm left with the unit of days, which is great because that's what we are looking for. 142 hours is the equivalent of 5.92 days. Okay, and you're like, oh, I could have figured that out without doing this, but sometimes it gets a little bit trickier. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. Okay, centimeters to inches. So start with what you're given, 100 centimeters. And this one, I don't really know off the top of my head. I know I want to cancel the unit of centimeters, but how can I go from centimeters to inches? Well, if I look up here in the length category, to go from our unit of inches to the European one of centimeters, it's 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So 2.54 centimeters is the equivalent of 1 inch. So centimeters canceled. I'm left with the unit of inches, which is what I wanted. So I'm good to just keep, or to just move on and actually multiply or divide. Okay, so 100 times 1 is 100. Over 1 times 2.4 is 2.54. And then it's top divided by the bottom. So if you type into your calculator 100 divided by 2.54, you get 39.370078, whatever. It keeps going. Okay, again, I want to focus on just the hundredths place. That 0 tells this 7 to stay a 7. Okay, and I'm left with the unit of inches, which is what I wanted. So it's 39.37 inches is equivalent to 100 centimeters. Okay, now they could also get a little bit more trickier because sometimes it's not just one single conversion to get to what I want. Sometimes we have to go multiple. So let's go ahead and take a look at number 12. Okay, for number 12, we're going to start with 2 miles. And then let's look here at our measurements. And for miles, I know how to go to kilometers. So then once I get to kilometers, I'm going to have to convert to centimeters. So let's do that first step. I want to put miles diagonally across from each other. Okay, and I can go from miles to kilometers, we said, which will be helpful because I can eventually go from kilometers to centimeters. Well, 1 mile is equivalent to 1.6 kilometers. Okay, miles are now gone, and I'm left with the unit of kilometers, which is not what I want my ending unit to be. So I'm going to need to keep going. Well, I know how to go from kilometers to meters. 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. Okay, and if you didn't know that, that's up here. Okay, I have kilometers cancel. I'm left with meters, still not what I want to end with. So I'm going to put meters diagonally across from each other so that they'll cancel. I know how to go from meters to centimeters because I know that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. Okay, now all the numbers on top get multiplied. So 2 times 1.6 times 1,000 times 100. All the numbers on the bottom would get divided, and essentially they're just 1. So I'm just going to multiply all these numbers. So go ahead and type those into your calculator. Okay, and once you typed those into your calculator, hopefully you got 320,000 centimeters because that's the unit we were left with, and that's the unit I wanted to end with. So my answer is 2 miles is equal to 320,000 centimeters. Okay, don't forget, we need to see your work of what you use to convert, but you don't have to actually multiply these out. You can use a calculator to do your division or multiplication. All right, good luck, my little mathematicians. You got this.